Go ahead, Lisa.
Hello everyone. My name is Lisa Ressler, and I'm happy to be here to moderate the first Paid Search Association conference virtual. So I'm happy everyone can join. Our first speaker is Navah Hopkins, and she is the Director of Paid Media at Hennessey Digital. And her topic today is the quintessential PPC audit list. So I will hand it over to her to kick things off.
Thank you so much, Lisa, and thank you so much for everyone for taking time out of your incredibly busy days to invest the time to learn and to grow. What I put together here, the PPC audit, is really meant to be a starting point. But if you have specific questions or ideas of like, oh man, like I really want to problem solve this, absolutely put them in the Q&A. If we cannot answer it during this dedicated Q&A, the panel is an amazing spot for it. So without any further ado, let's dive in. And it wants to click. There we go. So as Lisa mentioned, my name is Navah Hopkins. I'm the Director of Paid Media at Hennessey Digital. I'm also one of the top 25 PPC experts of 2019. Thankfully made the top 50 for this year, along with many of my fellow board members and even some folks that are in the audience I noticed. So really thank you for everyone that shares, that learns. What we'll be going over is my guiding metrics when I'm looking at an account. Whether it's spending $1,000 a month or $100,000 a month, there are certain central metrics that are really, really pivotal. I also want to go over when to act and when to watch. It can be really, really difficult to hold yourself back from actually hurting your account by saying like, I want to fix this, I want to fix it, I want to fix it. But you know what? Sometimes you can actually do more harm than good if you act prematurely. So we'll go over a few ideas there. And then finally, just some hidden settings that can kind of sabotage an account. You've done everything right, but you know what? Just that search partners was on, or oh my God, I've automatically created some ads. So just wanted to go over a couple of those. Shout out to the Microsoft folks that are on the line now and on the panel. Many of what I'm going to talk about does correlate and cross over to Microsoft. I will admit my screenshots are all Google. So if there are specific things that we want to talk through in the audit Q&A that are Microsoft specific, happy to answer them. But I do need to give the disclaimer, this is a Google only screenshot. So I'm sorry, I love Microsoft. Microsoft is amazing. So those guiding metrics. Impression share is my #1 guiding metric. One of the data sets I put together while I was at WordStream looked at where do most folks lose their impression share. And what was really fascinating to me is that most folks lose that impression share, or of all available impressions, how many are you getting, due to rank, not budget, which means that there are structural issues getting in the way of our profit. Now, if you're losing impression share due to rank, that usually means that there's something of a bidding issue sometimes, where you might be underbidding, or a certain keyword might be competing with another keyword and driving up our costs. We also want to be very, very mindful of click-through rate, because to be fair, quality score does factor into ad rank, and that historical click-through rate is going to impact you, as will ad relevance. So we do want to think about how engaging our creative is along with those keywords, and whether the keywords we've chosen, whether they're a broad match or they're a 2-word phrase match keyword, are exposing us to a lot of impressions that won't lead to clicks, that therefore will depreciate our quality score and therefore our ad rank. I also do want to point out keyword relevance does allow for those close variants. So when you're creating your ad copy, don't feel like you have to be a robot. We live in a world where we can absolutely create amazing ads that speak to the true desire of our prospects, not just buy my thing. Now, when you're losing impression share due to budget, it's a little bit different. There is a degree where the ad networks are peer pressuring us to invest more in something that's winning for us to their eyes, i.e. the conversion actions you've set are coming through, and therefore they're saying invest more, you'll get more money out of it. But another a little bit more insidious reason to lose impression share due to budget is that the keywords that you may have chosen, or the targets you may have chosen if we're doing any other initiative, is going to not fit enough clicks in the day that you can actually make enough money. So my golden rule, because non-branded search, a 10% conversion rate is actually really, really good. If you cannot fit at least 10 clicks in your day, you are setting yourself up just by the numbers to not get enough value out of your campaign. So you do want to be mindful of that. So impression share, to sum up, is really your market's potential. So if you are seeing that you have a fairly conservative budget, but you have 90% impression share and you're getting not a lot of traffic, that could be a sign that we need to do some top of funnel marketing to create interest, to create that volume, to create that market. If you're seeing that you have itty bitty impression share, but you're getting a lot of clicks, a lot of impressions, that's a sign that, hey, let's troubleshoot this account so that we can get the full potential of our prospects. So the next bit of auditing is, why is my ad not showing? And when ad networks tell us that it's not showing, but they can't say why, it is the most infuriating thing in the world. You'll like keep hitting test again, test again, test again. I boiled down the most common ones, but if you have specific questions that you'd like us to troubleshoot, absolutely put them in the Q&A. So number one, if you're losing it due to rank, most common culprits are going to be underbidding or quality score. A lot of times, based off of match type or based off of syntax, there will be different auction prices for different keywords. So even if the ad is showing, whatever you've set as your bidding strategy or whatever you've set as your bid, unfortunately, the ad's not serving on that first page, therefore you're not going to get what you need. The other piece to think about, though, is that quality score. Now, granted, so long as you have at least a quality score of 5, you are probably fine. When you start having that super low quality score due to either too many impressions and not enough clicks, or there just isn't enough volume, and so the ad network gets really confused about what to do with it, you are going to end up in a bad spot. One moment. Sorry, I'm still getting over a really bad cold, so the first ever recording is going to have me not coughing in your ear. So yeah, just be mindful. If your ad isn't showing due to rank, you're either underbidding or quality source. So you can actually bypass this by bidding a little bit more aggressively in the beginning. So the next reason is going to be that keyword conflict. So if you are bidding on, say, attorney and lawyer, in today's world, those actually are the same. So you could have one version serving and another isn't. So it'll say under one, your ad isn't showing, but then on the other, it can. Now, one thing I will throw out there as a very distinct thing in Google versus Microsoft, and the Microsoft folks, feel free to correct me. I've actually found that where on Google, I will run multiple match types. On Microsoft, I'll pick the one that I think will serve best, because I find that the match type duplicates really do catch budget spending on Microsoft, where on Google, you can sometimes get away with it. So where on Google, tiered bidding or having slightly different bids per different match type, or running phrase and exact and mod broad, on Microsoft ads, I'll typically run just a single match type, because I find that's an easier way to ensure that the ad network will put the budget where I want, and I won't run into this issue. I am starting to see more and more of that on the Google side, so it's possible Google's taking a leaf out of Microsoft's book, but that is just something to bear in mind. The other thing just to think about when you're bidding against yourself, you do not want to drive up your costs. And if you have a keyword that is on a less restrictive match type, it is very, very possible that it will steal that traffic, and then again have lower click-through rate because it has more impressions. It's a bad time. So we just want to be careful there. And then finally, if an ad isn't showing due to schedule, due to targets, that's okay, because you probably made all the right choices to protect your budget and have your ad serve at the dedicated time. So we don't want to have a panic party every single time our ad isn't showing. Sometimes it's a good thing, but you do want to check and make sure that the schedule that you set is what you actually intend, that the audience targets you set is actually what you intend, so on and so forth. Now, this is one of my favorite ways to get at the quality of my metrics, not just the kind of data, but the story behind it. So when we're looking at click-through rate in relation to conversion rate, we're actually able to see not just how good are our ads, but also how good are our landing pages. What is our conversion experience like? So if we have a high click-through rate and a low conversion rate, that usually means that our landing page and our search terms are in dire need of an audit. Whether the search terms are pulling in traffic that is valuable, but we're sending it to the wrong page, or whether it's not quite right, our ads are not usually the issue here because we've done a beautiful job of getting the right folks. Sometimes, though, what you'll see in the search terms report is that you're getting a lot of less qualified but volume folks. So your ad is really good at getting them because you've done a beautiful job with the ad, but they haven't yet done enough research to be a good paid traffic, paid search prospect. You want them to do a little bit more reading before they actually click on your ad. So definitely think about what match types do you have your keywords on, looking at the search terms, but of course also that landing page experience and applying really good CRO tactics. And if we could have a whole conference about CRO. So if there are questions, put them in the Q&A. Otherwise, we'll move on. Now, if there is a low click-through rate and a high conversion rate, we do want to audit our keyword match types. It is so important. So one of the most common budget busters, performance busters I'll see in an account is a 2-word keyword on phrase match. And people get very frustrated because this is on phrase match, like this is supposed to be more protective. Well, a 2-word term is still very broad. We can apply hundreds of different things. So if you have the keyword Mother's Day on phrase match, yes, you're gonna be in it to potentially get that like guilt buying last minute purchase, or like or because you planned ahead. But you're also going up against every other thing that could be attached to Mother's Day, whether it's a card, flowers, chocolates, a teddy bear, a trip, whatever. So we just want to be really careful about the kind of keywords we've chosen and the match types we've chosen. Now, if there's a low click-through rate and a low conversion rate and life is just terrible all around, I like to focus on the keywords and targets first and then look to the ads and the landing page. And here's why. Once we've gotten our traffic optimized and we really are confident in the quality of our traffic, we then can really distill down what kind of conversion rate experiences are right for them versus not. If you're troubleshooting your landing pages and your conversion rate optimization on that, but the traffic is still terrible, you'll have no way of knowing whether your landing page actually served you well. So we really do want to be careful there. But once you've figured out the keyword structure, the search traffic quality, you then will be able to make intelligent, informed decisions on your landing pages. So when to act versus when to watch. It can be very tempting to pounce into action, but we want to be careful. As a disclaimer, new campaigns on the search side take about 2 to 6 weeks to ramp up depending on spend. The more you're willing to invest in the beginning, the shorter the time frame, the smaller the budget, just because it's the fuel for the ad networks, the longer it will take to ramp up. But 2 to 6 weeks is about the time frame. Ad networks will tell you 5 days. I'm telling you 2 to 6 weeks because you want to make sure that you cushion yourself against clients saying 5 days, where are my leads? So if you're seeing wasteful search terms, you need to act. You need to add those as negatives. And it's important to note that when you add negatives, you adding them does not account for every variant. So I like to use tools like keywords.io that will have the variant that I used to use for finding variants for keywords I would target to actually get all the variants, misspellings for negatives to protect my traffic. Typically, it's nice to have them in a list so that you can apply them to multiple campaigns, particularly if they're fully wasteful. However, it can be useful to kind of shape traffic, direct budget, and have those ad group level individual negatives. If you're seeing interesting and converting terms, I'd actually caution you to wait. And here's why. A brand new keyword is still going to take time to ramp up. And if you have a brilliant keyword concept that you add into an ad group with a high converting keyword that caused it, that keyword is still going to get access to the traffic, access to the budget before that high converting term. What you should do, however, is tell your SEO team, your social team, hey, build content around this term because wow, this converted for me. The traffic looks great. I still need to wait to see whether I should actively add it, but on the content side, go ahead, go build. Now, if you don't see any conversions, you need to act right now. Whether it's that the tag is inactive or there are no recent conversions and you have to troubleshoot your traffic, whether you have duplicate conversion actions or duplicate tags, we need to problem solve this. So if you see 0 conversions, we need to troubleshoot those conversion actions and how we have those mechanics set up. Now, if you see that learning status, we need to wait. As I mentioned, ad networks require at least 5 days of no budget or bid strategy changes if you are running a bidding strategy. Now, even if you're doing manual bidding, you still want to give at least those 5 to 7 days for the ad networks to understand what is doing well, what is not. And if you see no metrics, but all is approved, well, we have to act. We have to check our bidding strategies and our negative conflicts and our targets. Helpfully, ad networks will actually alert you with that little symbol at the top if there is a negative conflict. But I also really encourage you to check your bidding strategies and see if the bidding strategy is actually making you underbid based off of all the flux that is going on right now. I've actually been pulling a lot of campaigns off of bidding strategies to kind of detox amidst COVID, and then putting them back on. So just bear in mind that the bidding strategies that may have worked for you before, you might want to evaluate. Now, as this kitten amidst pigeons is hidden, we want to be very, very careful there about budget busting hidden settings. Auto-applied ads and extensions. So I, at Hennessey Digital, we work with a lot of lawyers. Lawyers need to approve everything. So we really want to be careful about what we allow ad networks to auto-apply versus what do we create ourselves. I actually don't hate a lot of the ads that come out of the ad networks. They perform average. So if you're an average copyright, it's okay to delegate because it's built off of a lot of the creative that you've already built before. Where you'll get into trouble is if you have to run all creative past your client. Also, you will have 14 days to approve it. So, excuse me 1 second. So if you couldn't be bothered to check it within 14 days and it gets auto-applied, you still can pause it. But I do just want to make sure that you all are checking that it's turned off if you do have those really strict client ideas. This does apply for extensions as well, but just want to give that disclaimer. Did you intend to start a smart campaign? Smart campaigns can be valuable. I actually had a conversation with a paid search practitioner who tested them in super local markets, and they perform well. I don't trust smart campaigns, and I find that it's very easy to start a smart campaign. I highly encourage you to check every single drop-down menu, every single link when you're setting up an account or campaign to really make sure that you've created what you intend. Because if you start a smart campaign, you're not really going to be able to change it back into a normal campaign. Granted, a smart campaign account can have regular campaigns. You just want to be really, really careful. Choosing your bid strategies. Notice how selecting a bid strategy directly is not recommended because we can't be trusted to choose our own destiny on bidding. You really do want to be careful about what bidding strategy you select and really make sure that you are not depriving yourself of the bidding strategy that will serve you best. This goes doubly on goals, but I just want to make sure that everyone is checking and applying bidding strategies that they truly, truly believe in. The final thing I'll bring up is just hidden conversions. Not every business is going to be lucky enough to have someone who can help them get conversion tracking set correctly. Phone calls, driving directions can be signs of profit. And so if you're not seeing the full picture on conversions or you're not seeing everything tracked, I really do encourage you to segment by click type and get an idea of where your traffic is going. If your traffic is going to a place that you know you're not set up to profit off of, we want to make sure that we're adapting our messaging to encourage the types of interactions we want, and B, checking with our infrastructure to see if there are leads coming in that we just didn't get credit for that perhaps are inflating the conversion volume. And with that, I'll happily take any questions that came in that we have time for.
Hey, Nava, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yes, I have a really great question. I think a lot of people are wondering about what type of a bidding strategy should a new company use, or should companies use for new campaigns when they don't have any history? Where's a good place to start?
So my favorite is maximize clicks with a bid cap of 10% of what the budget is, for the exact reason I shared, that you want to be able to fit at least 10 clicks in your day. And so if you cannot fit at least 10 clicks, you're setting yourself up to fail. The reason why I like maximize clicks with that bid cap is it will teach you what keyword concepts will fit your budget and which ones won't. Another bidding strategy I actually like, and a lot of paid search practitioners roll their eyes at me when I say this, is I actually really like target impression share, again, with a bid cap and going for a very specific spot at the top of the page or percentage of time at the top of the page. The reason why I like that is it will actually help me understand what auction prices I can reasonably expect going forward. So if I need to benchmark myself and benchmark ideas, I can arbitrarily pull some numbers out, and I can use tools like Keywords Everywhere, SEMrush, the planners on Google and Microsoft. But I actually like that bidding strategy to give me very practical in-market numbers and in-market ideas for what it will cost. One other thing I'll throw out there, if I'm truly not sure what will work and what will happen, dynamic search ads can be a very powerful way to learn how your people search, so long as you set the proper exclusions, proper negatives, and again, making sure that you have bid caps in place because you don't want your spend to run wild. But all of these are tactics that can help you benchmark yourself, give yourself really a practical roadmap of what will fit and what things will cost.
I think we have time for one quick one, which you touched on. What is a good target impression share?
So a good target impression share, I consider 75% good. I consider 90% for branded good. In terms of top of page, I like to be top of page, not absolute top, but top of page at least 60% of the time. For branded, obviously, I want that 100% of the time, and absolute top at least 90% of the time. But for non-branded, I think if you can have at least 75% impression share, you've done a good job of mapping out what ideas fit, capturing the market, setting the settings appropriately, but also being practical to your bottom line. Because you don't have to be the big gorilla in the market. You just need to get the money in the market. So it depends on your boss, your client, what their directives are, but those are the metrics I would set. I'll throw it out there that throughout this whole thing, I've been watching John Lee smirk every time I say a thing, and I'm like really terrified that I've said something that will anger the gods of Microsoft.
Well, I don't think I'm sure he's accepting of all search platforms, although I can't speak for him. I think we're waiting on Christy to join us for a second here. So do you mind if I ask you another question?
Do I mind questions? Give me all the questions. Yes, give me questions. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes. Should I exclude regular keywords that are used in other campaigns? From a DSA campaign?
Unequivocally, yes. I was waiting for the rest of the question. So here's the rule on negatives. If you are covering multiple parts of your service, but like there could be keyword syntax overlap, you will want aggregate level negatives. If you're running a DSA campaign, and it should be a campaign, you want to have every single one of your keywords added as both a phrase and exact match negative, unless there are certain instances that you might want to see like which performs better, because sometimes DSA will bring you the traffic cheaper and you could be undecided. But absolutely, at the bare minimum, you want all of your keywords on exact match negative, if not also phrase match negative. Shout out to the Microsoft folks. The reason why I always say phrase match negative instead of broad, Microsoft doesn't have broad match negative, and so a single word on phrase match negative will behave the exact same way as a broad match negative. So when you import your campaigns over to Microsoft and you take advantage of all that additional impression share, you want to make sure that your negatives carry over. Also important on those imports, both Microsoft and Google have DSA. You will want to make sure that they are separate. Once a campaign is made DSA, it cannot be undone. Even though there are settings that claim that you can undo it, that they're lies. And I know this because I've had to troubleshoot this, and we end up having to create a brand new campaign. Always make DSA a separate campaign. Import it over, test it out, see how it does on Microsoft, but you want to make sure that it is a separate campaign. Because it can also, a DSA ad group can actually tank a Google campaign. So you really want to make sure that DSA is separate from your traditional campaigns. I'm intentionally giving extra props to Microsoft so that we can herald in Christy.
Excellent. I love this question from Ken Chang. I'm curious myself. What are your thoughts on improving phone calls?
Phone calls, perfect. So
Yes.
One thing I like doing is, and this is actually like a weird trick. So if you have a vanity number, and I'm probably going to kill the trick by sharing it with ad networks on the line, is if you actually include the vanity number as a call out, granted, you're not going to be able to track that the number was called from the ad. You can at least see that it was shown. I also like saying, speak to our experts, call in the actual headlines. For those of you that have your GMB or your Google My Business synced to your Google Ads, you can take advantage of local search ads. I love them. They're a lot cheaper than call-only ads, or call ads as they're now called. And what's nice about it is that you actually can get the person to call right from the map pack, so you have one of those spots in the map pack. Yeah, just tell the user what you want them to do. If you want them to fill out a form for a quote, speak to our experts, call our compassionate team is here to help. Like, tell them what to do and they will do it. If you're wishy-washy, they're not going to do it.
Makes sense. Does the exact match percentage affect quality score?
Can whoever asked that explain what you mean? Like, do you mean the amount of times a keyword matched by exact, or do you mean by like, what do you mean?
I cannot answer that question.
Can whoever asked that send in more details? And we can maybe as a panel address it, because I actually would love for the ad networks to be able to speak to it as well. I can tell you click-through rate is going to be a factor. Ad relevance is going to be a factor, but close variants apply to exact match as well. So,
sorry to interrupt you. Does exact match impression share affect quality score? Yeah.
Not to my knowledge. I'm also seeing John Lee shake his head, so I feel comfortable saying no. This is the best cheat sheet, by the way, John. If you want to like chime in, please do.
Yeah. Again, I would have to verify to be 100% confident, but I don't believe that the impression share metric in and of itself is going to be driving quality score up or down either way.